Thank you all for being here today. We are talking about 5 ways to 5x your business. And I've been coming to these conferences for many, many years. I have been a hypnotist for 20 years. I would say the first, maybe almost 10 years even, were part-time because I worked in marketing for a while, and then I was an at-home mom, and I got into hypnosis using hypnobirthing. I birthed my last child using hypnosis, and then worked part-time in the business for a while. We had 2 foster girls, so I was juggling those, and 3 boys, and 3 rambunctious boys that were wrestlers. So I did it part-time for a while, and started working with athletes. So my niche is working with athletes. My name is Karin Bird. I have a virtual business now that was brick and mortar for about 15 years in Wisconsin. And then I moved it to virtual because all of my athletes were from all over the nation. And so I was seeing most clients virtually anyways, and I just decided to bring it in my house, which works out great for me. So the reason that I thought that we could talk about this is I'm always thinking about what it is that will be most helpful for people when they come to these conferences. And we all know that we can be wonderful with clients, but if we don't know how to get clients or have successful businesses, then obviously it's really hard for us to have a business and be able to quit our jobs and make money at our business. So I'm just going to talk about some ways. These aren't the only ways, but different ways that I've learned in how to make my business work after all of these years. And the first thing I want to say is I finally learned after 20 years that it's just easier to make our business easy, right? So it gets to be easy. When we try to make things hard, it feels really hard, and things are really hard, right? So how do we make our business easy and just let it be in flow? And I came up with that probably 4 years ago now, because my son, my oldest son, who is an amazing athlete, which is why I teach athletes now, my Attitude of a Champion program, he was on the top 3 to be Olympians. I just trained an Olympic champion that is going to the Olympics, so that's why he's coming up for me. Anyways, he was a national champion, he was a state champion, he went to Ukraine to wrestle, he was at the Olympic Training Center, and so I started working with athletes probably about 10 years in. Right after I did that, I wrote a book called Hypnos Niche, which I forgot to bring, but if anyone wants a copy of it, I give it for free. It's kind of what we call a lead magnet, and it's about the power of niching and the importance of niching in order to have your business, and why do you niche, and why most generalists or hypnotists that get into the business want to be generalists, and why we should niche. Because when I started working with athletes, because I had 3 athlete sons, I noticed that my business boomed just because I chose a niche. I was an expert in it. People found me anyways. I still see clients for everything else, but being the expert in something made a big difference in my business. So I'm a big proponent of niching, and even micro niching, like super important to find your niche, find what you're good at. And then one of the ways to 5x your business is to really hone in on what it is. And then that's what you put out there, right? On social media, on your Google. You are the expert in whether it's weight loss or grief or whatever it is. So anyways, 4 years ago, I decided that life gets to be easy because my son passed away in a motorcycle accident, the one that I modeled my Attitude of a Champion program after, because he was an amazing athlete. And I learned so much from him about mental toughness, and it was kind of my life, right? So at the same time, within that 10 days, my husband and I filed for divorce. So at the time, I went through like a really hard couple years, and I still worked on my business, but I decided that I was done making my life hard. I was done trying to control everything, first of all, or trying to control how many clients came in my door, trying to control everybody else's world. Like, I was done. I learned that I am not in control of anything. And business really does flow when you finally let go, surrender, trust, and allow. And that's when I kind of opened up I had my spiritual awakening, just a way of being that our businesses actually, they have spirits. And I found this so interesting because we have this business and we think it's just this entity, but actually when we treat it when we realize that it has a spirit, we can then nurture it, and it grows exponentially because because it's part of us, right? So a couple different ways that I'm going to share with you guys more than 5 ways actually, but I'll get through as many as I can in how to 5X your business. So the first one is that I believe is super duper important is to either have a coach or to have someone that is in your business, the same business as you, to be your buddy or to be your confidant or to be your mentor. And the reason that I believe in this 100% is because when I finally decided, I kind of saw the writing on the wall in our marriage, and I was working part-time at the time, and I thought, oh crap, I either got to get my act together like right now, or I'm going to be ending up having to find a job, and I did not want to go work for anyone else. And I knew I could make the business successful. So I decided to hire a business coach, and this was, gosh, a good like 7 years ago. And it was like $15,000, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's a crazy amount of money, right? But what I've learned is that if we don't invest in our business and we don't invest in ourselves, then we don't have the big why, right? The big why is what makes our business boom. And so for me, when I hired my coach, I remember saying to her, because I connected with her, and I remember saying to her, the reason I'm hiring you is because A, I know you have the resources that I don't have. Like here at this conference, I learned from Paul Ramsey, who is so good. Like I've had Descript forever, and yet he taught us about how to use Descript, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm not even using it, right? So resources, super important when you hire a coach. And the other thing I said to my coach is, you are where I want to be, and I know that you can get me in 1 year to where it's going to take me 5 years to get there on my own. And I don't have 5 years. Like I know that I need to do it, and I need to do it now. So I hired her, and I'll tell you, in 1 year, I got to where I know it would have taken me at least 5 years, if not more, to get my business to where it was. So let me tell you, it is whatever your niche is or whatever you want to do, hire a coach. And if you can't hire a coach, find someone that's in your business that's just a little bit beyond you, or even at the same level where you guys can network and share and resource. When I finally did that, like I was afraid to, I always wanted to be, like I was a solopreneur, and what I learned is that I was lone wolfing, and lone wolfing does not work when you're in your own business. Like just know that. So reach out to someone and find someone that you can bounce ideas off with, share resources. A coach is always great because they're a little bit further than you. They can teach you. It's really their intellectual property. They've been where you want to go, so they can hand you what took them a long time to create in a short amount of time. So that was key number one. The second one is outsourcing. I'll tell you what, I resisted outsourcing for a really, really long time. And I did it because I thought, oh, well, what if I'm not making enough money to pay so-and-so? But when I finally did, it took me, I would say like 3 times to get a really good VA. But I had the best virtual assistant in the whole world, and she's from Pakistan. And her and I, like I was just saying to Connie, who's a good friend of mine, who's here at this conference, I was just saying, oh my gosh, if anything ever happens to her, I am in big trouble because she knows my business as well as I do. She's like my partner, but yet I pay her $15 an hour because she's in Pakistan. So I was afraid to outsource for a really long time. But what I learned is that as business owners and entrepreneurs, we aren't experts at everything, and we try to do everything. Like social media is not my friend, and that is a really bad self-talk, and I know that, and I get to switch that. But what I was thinking, even as you were teaching, is there's so many people that will take a class on social media and posting things, and they start to feel overwhelmed, and I don't like to get out there. And I know even for me personally, my VA, my virtual assistant, sent me a message this morning. She's like, will you please do me a favor? Will you please do a live with so-and-so? I'm like, okay. And so now I'm going to do it because she asks me to do it because she loves my business, cares about my business as much as I do. But what I learned is that we can't be good at everything. So what they do for me, what my virtual assistant, my social media manager do for me, is they will sit down with me and interview me and ask a few questions, and we will record it, and then they take it and put it in reels and shorts and put it up there. So I don't feel like every single day I have to do what I think is drudgery and create a post or do a live, because I have that person that's an expert at it that will help me and hold my hand and do it. So for me, when I finally hired my VA it was $10 an hour because I went to Upwork, it was a game changer for me, because what I realized is I'm not an expert in everything. I am not numbers oriented. That was not my forte. I have QuickBooks. I don't know if any of you have QuickBooks. Huge for your business. Yeah, if you've had a business for a while, it is worth every single penny, because every dollar that you spend in your business, you just use like a business credit card. And so for like my business credit cards, I get airline miles for anyway. And then that pulls into my QuickBooks, and I don't keep track of anything. But here's the problem. I used QuickBooks for about a year, and because I don't go in there and categorize and put rules on things, about a year later it's supposed to be tax time, and it was a mess. I didn't know what was what. So I hired a bookkeeper from Upwork. I think he was like $15 an hour, and I gave him like this, you can give a guest some access to it, and he went in there for, I think it took him like 4 hours. He put rules on everything and organized everything, and now I don't pay attention to anything when it comes to that. So that was someone I found on Upwork. Actually, it had been a referral from someone, which is another great reason to have a coach, because they will send you to people and refer you to people that are really great at what they do, especially now because we can do international things. Like, we can outsource from anywhere. I have my Facebook manager is from Algeria. My Facebook ads manager is from Algeria. My Facebook manager is from Philippines. And my virtual assistant is from Pakistan. And they're great, but they're all from someone that I knew. So someone that I asked, someone that was in the business, someone that would share resources with me. So like, I teach my Attitude of a Champion course, and I give them everything I have. So it's not just, hey, how do you work with athletes? This is the structured system. I tell them any question you have, like, I am an open book. I will give you anything. So my virtual assistant in Pakistan has a whole list of who she would recommend for Facebook ads and Facebook managers and virtual assistants. She's in this organization. And so when they need an assistant, she'll go ahead and find it for them, and we know they're great. So that's the value of like having a coach, is they're newer a lot of times, hypnotists and hypnotherapists, yet I have the resources that I can share with them, and it's worth gold, because now they have a virtual assistant that they trust. Because when I didn't have that, I went through like 4 virtual assistants to find one that I really liked. So outsource, super duper important. Does anyone here outsource? Yeah? Good. So that was one of the things I resisted. The other thing I resisted that I wish I would never resisted is an online calendar. And again, funny thing, because I was just talking to Connie this morning about it. She's like, I have Calendly, which is the online scheduler, but she's like, and I use it for my discovery calls, but I don't use it for my clients. I'm like, yeah, I did that too. I resisted forever. And the reason I resisted is the same reason I resisted when I didn't want a niche, is because I was afraid that if I wasn't a general hypnotist, I couldn't work with everybody and they wouldn't find me, right? That is so the opposite of the truth. Same thing with Calendly. It's like, oh, well, if I do Calendly and I only give them these certain amount of days to work within, then if they can only come on Fridays and I'm available on a Friday morning, they won't know I'm available on a Friday morning. So then they won't come to me, right? It's scarcity. It's that scarcity thinking. What I've learned, again, the opposite of making life easy, is scarcity thinking does not work, especially when you're an entrepreneur. Like, the more you give, the more you put out there, it just flows, right? Abundance, money, it all flows. And so with Calendly, I finally said, okay, I'm going to work 1.5 days a week with clients, right? I'm just going to see clients 1.5 days a week, which means they're going to be really packed. And so some days on Wednesdays, I'll see clients for I'll see 7, 8 clients on a Wednesday. Sometimes it's 4, it just depends on the week. And then Tuesday afternoons, and then my other days are for my coaching and my Attitude of a Champion business and my marketing and anything else that I need to do. And so I finally just did that in my Calendly, and I said, these are the days I'm available. And I still have people say, do you see clients on weekends? No. Do you have any other times available? No. Here's my link. If you book with my link, you get all the reminders. Super important, you book with my link. I see clients 1.5 days a week, and it's beautiful, and it works for me, because when I was seeing clients here and there and all over the place, it was like wrecking my focus. And I could not focus on marketing today or coaching my Attitude of a Champion mentees today, So I just use Calendly, and it's beautiful. And yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Zoom just came out with a new like Calendly replacement.
Okay.
It's directly on Zoom and Zoom scheduling, and it literally just launched, and I signed up for it. And it is a game changer because it's just like sets up exactly to your Zoom, and it has your old calendar there. So, anyways, I just wanted to share that.
I love that. I saw someone had sent an invite to me through that. I should check that out.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the name of it?
Zoom.
Zoom. It's on Zoom.
Just Zoom calendar?
Yeah, I think it's like a scheduler through.
I love it. Good tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what Connie was saying. She's like, so I can't figure out why I don't have time to work out. I've gained all this weight. I'm like, well, you have to make it a priority in your schedule. Like, I know that on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I go to the gym at 8 a.m., and then I take the dog for a walk, and those times don't get booked because it's in my Calendly. And then these are the dates for my times for my clients. So I would say don't resist that. I wish someone would have told me that a really long time ago, is get yourself your online schedule. It was a game changer for me. Google Business, do all of you guys have Google Businesses? Google My Business? Yeah? Super. I'm telling you, more than 50% of my leads, what's that?
Is that number 3?
Number 3, sure. Yeah. I was all over the board. Google My Business, it was another game changer, and let me tell you why. Because the name of my business is Win with Hypnosis. So if someone's Googling a sports hypnotist, they typically find me. And when you use Google My Business, the more reviews you get, the higher you get put up on it. And so now I have athletes calling from all over the country, and I'll say, how did you find me? And they'll say, I just Googled sports hypnotist. And I literally pop up that way because of my reviews and because enough people are taking a look at it and looking at it. So, and I've never paid for Google My Business ads. And you have to do things like switch out your pictures every now and then, add some testimonials on there if you can. You can do some short videos in there. So switch it out so it keeps popping up. But Google My Business is a really great way to advertise without having to pay any advertising fees.
Do you have to have your address on there, like if you're virtual?
You have to have a physical address, and I haven't quite figured this out because mine used to be, mine used to be my other office, but
P.O. box.
I don't know if they'll do P.O. boxes. Do you know?
You could use one of those.
UPS store, they give you a suite number.
No. Shared space. Like in our town, we have a shared workspace where you can rent an office for an hour. You would have to ask.
So like for my email marketing, I didn't want my personal address, and you have to have your address on there. So I bought like a virtual mailbox.
Oh, okay.
And I wonder if I could use that.
You probably could.
Even though it's not my office,
Yeah.
obviously.
So what's going to happen though is that they send you a physical postcard to that address. So it has to be a physical place. And then what happens is you get that physical postcard and you have to put that code into it in order for them to give you a business account.
Virtual mailboxes, they'll scan everything in.
Because it's prone to maps, now it has to have an address on it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, that Google My Business was super good for me.
A friend of mine she travels around in her RV and does her whole business with virtual outsourcing and things. And I think she said that she gets an address in Texas where like all RVers get addresses. So all the mail will go there, and then she gets all of those things from that. And I don't know if that would do the same thing or not.
Yeah.
But it might. I mean,
Yeah.
it gets physical things from there also.
Okay, good to
So
know.
there are places.
Yeah. Figure it out, right? It's important. All right, who has an elevator speech? Can you share it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I help people I teach people hypnosis for a better life. Bam.
Love it. All right. You share?
Helping people find the next step on their journey.
Okay, love it.
I help entrepreneurs get seen, heard, and paid by maximizing the power of their subconscious minds.
Love it. Anyone else want to share?
I'm trying to remember mine.
I know. You're on the spot now, right? That's what happens when we're on the spot. Anyone else want to share theirs? Matt?
I work with any unwanted habit or behavior that is between the ears.
Love it.
What's yours?
Mine is I have athletes that have okay, now I'm on the spot too, right? I help athletes that have the ability but lack the confidence to reach their peak performance using hypnosis. Yeah. And so elevator speech, super important, especially those of you that are a little bit newer in here. I'm telling you, for many, many, many years, I've made so many mistakes that you guys, I do not want you to make, which is why, like, it's super important you have a coach so you don't do these things. I would forever people would say, what do you do? Oh, I'm a hypnotist, or I'm a hypnotherapist. That, like, backfired on me so many hundreds of times. I'll never forget, I was at a conference, a business conference, and we were in the hot tub, and a couple was there. And they're like, what do you do? And I said, oh, I'm a hypnotist. And then they give you can you make me cluck like chicken? Can you hypnotize me right now? I just dislike that so much. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that now. You've been drinking, and no. And when you answer it like, hey, this is what I do. I help people in whatever it is, that's when they start having the questions. Because otherwise, they look at you like, duh, what do you do? What does that mean? Yeah, you're just dancing parrot, right? So when you tell them what you help them with, then their next question is, oh, really? You work with athletes? I mean, I can't tell you how many athlete clients I've gotten sitting on an airplane or in an airport. When people say, what do you do? And I tell them what they do, they say, oh my gosh, I was looking for you. Like, we've been looking for someone to mentally train our son. And then they ask questions, and then you get a client, right? So when you're able to tell them what you help them with, that's when you get the client. So elevator speech was another really, like, super, made my business explode just by being able to be comfortable telling people what I help them with. Programs. In the beginning, I don't know about you guys that are a little bit newer, I started out just wanting to offer one session because I was worried about how much money it cost people. And I wanted them, you guys are smiling, I wanted them to get the most bang for their buck. And so I would be like, oh, one session or 2 sessions. And then I would try to fit everything that I knew into these 2 sessions, and it was not good because for so many reasons. So one, what I've learned now is programs are king because you cannot do it properly. And this is what I say when someone says how many sessions. I just simply say that's going to be 5 sessions or 6 sessions. We'll know for sure after the first session. But I'm estimating 5 or 6 or maybe 6 or 8, whatever I'm thinking might be, depending on what they're talking to me about, because we want to do it properly. The last thing that I want you to do is have just a little result for now, and then it doesn't work forever, and you walk away saying hypnosis doesn't work, because I know it works. So in order for us to do properly, we're looking at about 6 to 8 sessions. Now, if it's less than that, I will be honest with you and say, hey, I think we're good, and I'll either give you your money back, or we can save the session for later. And if it's more than that, and when we're finished, we'll talk about if we want to have another couple sessions. And so that was key for me because I wasn't feeling rushed. There was a ton of different things I could do. There's so many different modalities, right? We can use tapping, we can use past life regression, we can use so many different things, but we can't get that all in a session or 2 because we're worried about saving them money. And yes, you're going to have clients that say, and I do have clients that will call in discovery call and say, oh, I can't afford that right now. And it's like, okay, sorry, give me a call when you feel like you can, or I'm always here. And so that's okay, because if they can't afford it, then it's not for them. But programs were super important to me to get there. And so then after that, I resisted putting together a plan because I was like, I don't know how many sessions you're going to do for this and how many sessions you're going to do for that. So I finally got to a place in my business where I knew. So for smoking, originally, I offered 4 sessions. I know Ken Guzzo does 1 session. I've taken his stuff. He's amazing at what he does, but he's Ken Guzzo. I'm just going to say, I am not Ken. I cannot do what Ken does, but he's really good. So I did 4 sessions for smoking, and what I found is I was setting my clients up for failure. And why do I say that? Because I would say, oh yeah, you'll stop smoking in the first session, but then we have another session. And just in case, there's a 4th session. A 3rd session, a 4th session. And so they would come back in like the 3rd time, be like, well, I slowed down, but I'm still smoking 1 or 2 cigarettes because they're expecting another session. That did not work well. And so what I learned with smokers is they're not my favorite clients. Some people love them, they're not my favorite clients. And so they're the highest price, and that is what it is. And so I charge them like $750 for 2 sessions. And I tell them it's a month-long program, and within that month, I'm going to send them additional audios and a lot of email support. So I have some emails set up where I have like an automation saying, hey, you're a successful non-smoker, and remember to do this, and da-da-da-da-da-da, right? So they'll get like an email once or twice a week for that month, and then they'll get, here's an additional audio for you on healing your lungs. Here's an additional audio for you on whatever. And then I'll have the one session, they stop smoking, and then I'll have the second session, I say, it's just a reinforcement session. We just want to make sure it's forever. We want to make sure that anything that would ever stop you from being a non-smoker forever is gone. And so we just had those 2 sessions. So that's my smoking. I have all different ones, right? So weight loss, I talk to them on the phone. If it's emotional stuff, I feel like there's a lot of stuff we need to clear, a lot of baggage. I'll say 6 to 8 sessions. We'll do the clearing first, and then I do the virtual gastric band. And so if I just do virtual gastric band, because I feel like they don't have a lot of stuff back there, but typically they do, right? I'll just do the 4 sessions. If I feel like there's a lot of stuff to clear, emotional stuff first, we'll do 6 to 8 sessions. And so I've created where, okay, this is this many program sessions, this should be this many sessions. If I feel like someone is like they have a lot of anxiety or panic attacks, 7, 8 sessions. Sometimes we'll add some on to that. But when I created programs, and in my mind, I knew when someone called for a discovery call, this is about how many sessions, and this is about what it's going to cost you. And you can either pay upfront for all of your sessions, or you can do installments. So I do installments. It's more expensive than if they were to do it upfront, but that works wonderfully for me. If it's one time, one session at a time, that did not work for me. People, I remember doing this even when my son was seeing a psychologist. My middle son was a wrestler, and his sophomore year, he was going to stay. He was an amazing wrestler also. The first one was like really, really good. The second one was really good, talented, and he broke his back. And we had to bring him to a spine surgeon, and the spine surgeon said, you will never wrestle again. So from today forward, you've been wrestling since you could walk, and you will never wrestle again. And he spiraled into anxiety and panic attacks, and he didn't know who he was, and it was a really hard time for him. And so we were looking for psychologists, and he went to a couple psychologists, and I remember, like, even though we were supposed to keep going, it was like, if we don't go today, we don't have to pay the $200. Are you doing okay? He's like, I don't really want to go. So we wouldn't go, right? We'd cancel our session. And I find that people do that with hypnotists too. So when they pay the upfront, they're committed. And that's when you get the change, because the last thing you want, it's not, for me, it's not about the money or them saying, I don't want to do 8 sessions, and it's not really about the money, because I always have clients flowing and coming and going, and I have plenty of clients. It's about, I don't want them walking away saying it doesn't work. And if you do session by session by session, they have a propensity to just say, okay, I feel better now, I don't want to finish it, and then they go away saying it doesn't work. So that did not work for me. To finish the story with my son, we went to psychologist after psychologist after psychologist, and he went to the doctor because I finally was like, we can't do these panic attacks anymore. Like, he would roll up in a ball and run out across the street in the middle of the winter across the highway in his underwear in the snow because he had to get out of his body. He was just like, it was really hard. And so the psychologist situation wasn't working. So we went to the doctor, and I said, we just need something for him to calm him so he's not in this state all the time. And unfortunately, they gave him a quiz, and the doctor looked at him and he said, you don't just have anxiety, you're depressed. From that moment on, he was depressed. And so then he got to go on antidepressants. I was like, oh, this is not cool. This is way against all of my everything, right? So we did that for a little while, and he eventually got off them, because I was like, we can do this for a short amount of time, but we're not going to do this forever. And then I found Scott Sandlin, who actually had a similar situation when he was a collegiate swimmer. He got hit by a car and couldn't swim anymore. And so I sent him virtually to Scott Sandlin, a hypnotist, and it was like amazing. And so I was like, oh gosh, I finally found someone to work with him, because of course he wouldn't work with me because I don't know anything, because I was his mom. So anyway, I forgot where I was going with that, but okay, so programs, discovery calls, super important. I would say I have about a 90% closing rate on any phone call that I get, a discovery call. A lot of my discovery calls from referrals, or they come from Google Business. Some of them come from social media, but not a whole lot. And the other ones come from doing team talks. So in my Attitude of a Champion program, I teach how to go out and speak to teams for like a half an hour or so, and then how to end your talk and how to close your talk, and then you get athletes from that talk, teaching mental toughness. And so I get a lot of clients from that. But so when I go and do a team talk, I will then collect email addresses and send them a free audio, or I have a free audio on my website. So on the first page of my website is Win with Hypnosis. The first page is geared towards athletes because that's my niche. And then I have the links on top, right? So there is a link for other services. So it does say I will work with people for smoking and weight loss and anxiety and all this, but the first thing they see is working with athletes. Tons of clients will go to my website and see that I work with athletes, but they still call me and say, do you do other things? I mean, I get that phone call all the time. And so on the link, on both that first page and then other services page, I have just a download an audio for relaxation or download an audio for athletes, and then I get their email addresses. So that's how I get their email addresses, and then I can email them when there's specials or anything else. We all know that our email list is golden, right? That's our buyers list, because social media could go away tomorrow, but your email list will not go away. So, and if you have a business for 20 years like I do, and you have an email list of thousands, you can actually sell your business. But you can't sell your business if you don't have the collateral, right? So the email lists are super duper important.
Or if you name it after yourself.
Or if you name it after yourself, you can't sell it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I guess you could sell the business, though. You would just have to name it something else. Because you're selling the lists, right? You're selling your customers. So, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. So so anyways, that's how I get them their emails, and then they get the audio, and then I'll have them book a 15-minute discovery call. So with discovery calls, I had learned many years ago from one of my mentors, Eleni Midas, that she would book off a whole day for people to come in and have discovery appointments, and she would ask them questions, and she had this whole list of stuff, and then they would want to come in and see her. Well, I did that for a while, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I am not spending an entire day with people to try to do discovery calls. Like, I don't have time to sit there and do discovery calls all day long. So I literally have a link on my Calendly, and it's a 15-minute link. And anyone that is interested in I'll get an email, or they'll go to my website and want to talk to me, they'll get the link for my discovery call, and that will send them an email that says, and they'll schedule it at a certain time, right, on Calendly. And it sends them an email. It just says, call me at this phone number at this time. I'll be waiting for your call. And so I have created compliance. They're calling me. If they don't call me, no skin off my back. Here's the other thing. They can call me when I'm walking the dog, or making dinner, or blow drying my hair, or working on my computer, right? I don't care. It's a phone call. And so it doesn't bother me. I can leave a lot of time open, and it can just be 15 minutes where I hop on a phone call with them, and they ask the questions, and then I just tell them what I offer. And so my discovery call script is that little QR code there, if you guys are interested in what I say when they call. I think, do you guys anyone have those? Did you get it yet? Are you looking for that?
I downloaded it.
You downloaded it? Okay. I am going to ask for one back if you guys don't mind, because I don't have any.
Let me get mine.
Yeah, go ahead and get your QR code. So anyways, what I say in a discovery call is that little QR code. The big one is the Attitude of a Champion program that I offer, and that's a 6-month program with mentoring, masterminds, and everything that you could ever want to work with athletes. All right, how are we doing in time? We're doing okay. All right. The other thing that helped my business grow and helped me is when I did what I call the client journey. So I did kind of streamlined my business. I hired a virtual assistant. I think she was in Mexico, because I didn't know anyone that did this, and I didn't even know how to do this. And it took her a while to figure it out. But I hired a virtual assistant to specifically work on this. And that was, when I get a client that is interested in coming to me for hypnosis, how do I move them from station to station to station to station to station so I have no touch points? Because I was sick and tired of emailing back and forth and sending thank yous and reminders, and I was like, that drove me crazy. So I'm assuming now more people have it, but when I finally got that client journey together, it was super helpful for me. So what my clients do is they will, let's say I go to a team talk, I will get their email address, or then they will go to my website, and there's a form on my website that says name, email, and then what are you looking to come to me for, or something like that. Like, what do you want hypnosis for?
What platform do you use for your customer journey?
Lots. I'll tell you that in a minute. So they'll send me an email and they'll say, I'm interested in smoking weight loss, or smoking hypnosis, what does it cost? I will typically email them back, sometimes a virtual assistant does, and just says, hey, let's hop on a 15-minute complimentary discovery call, and I'll give you more details. Here's the link. And the link, then they'll just go to the link, they'll go to Calendly, and they'll book the 15-minute call with me. Then when they book the call, they will get the email telling me to call them at a certain time. So they'll call me at whatever time that is, and then I'll speak to them, because now I have like that personal touch, right? They know me, like me, trust me, super important. And then I will say to them, I can either text you or email you a link to book the first session. It's that simple. And so sometimes they'll say email me, sometimes they'll say text me. I have their email address because they emailed me, and they're in my Calendly, so I've got it, right? So that moment, as I'm on the phone at a wrestling meet or wherever, out for dinner, wherever I am, I can just look at my phone, and I have a Calendly app on my phone. Oh, my phone's over there. It's a Calendly app, and I can just touch the app, and then I can copy the link for the first session. So for I have a first session athletes, and when someone books an athlete session, it's 4 sessions that I see athletes for, and they're weekly, and they are 1 hour, and it's $9.99 for that athlete. And so they will just pay up front when they book that first session, and I'll say, I'll send you a link for the first session, and it gives them an intake form and a link to make payment. My link to make payment, I use credit card company from Costco called Elevon. The reason that I do that is the fees are a lot less than Stripe or anywhere else. So if you are a Costco business member, you can get that credit card.
What's it called again?
It's called Elevon, E-L-A-V-O-N. So you could go to Costco's website and go to their business. So you have to have a business membership at Costco, but it's not much more than the regular membership. And Elevon is very helpful in getting this all set up, but the fees are a lot less. And so it's literally just a link for them to make the credit card payment to me. And then also with that, they get a link to a YouTube video of how and why sports or hypnosis works, a link to a YouTube video of me explaining how and why it works for sports hypnosis and the mental tools and what they can expect in the appointments as they come up. The reason that I do this, and with regular clients, it's very similar. It's just a different link in Calendly. And so they get a link to book their first session, and I send them the pre-talk, which is in YouTube. The reason I send them the pre-talk is when I have 7 and 8 clients a day, I am sick and tired of telling them what hypnosis is and what it feels like. So I will ask them in that first session, did you listen to the video? 50 to 70% will say yes, the others say no, and then I do have to give them the pre-talk. But I always love it when they say, yeah, I watched the video. I'm like, great, done. We're done with that piece, right? So in Calendly, you can set it up where they get these links to the YouTube videos. They get the link to payment, and then they literally make their appointment, and they get reminders. And I think they get a 24-hour reminder and a 12-hour reminder. They get even documents. So the athletes will get 4 documents. One is like a document because we're going to do affirmation statements. One's a document on how to do self-hypnosis. One's a document on how to do the circle of excellence. And so I will have them print or download the document. So when we work together, they have it right there in front of them. And then, like I said, they get the reminders. Oh, the Zoom link is right there. And I literally just hop on Zoom when it's time for their session. And then after their sessions, Calendly will send them thank yous, 10 minutes, thank you. The Calendly will send them thank yous. Hey, if you liked our session, here's a link to my Google business. I would love a review. 5-star reviews are the best. And tell others about, let's share this experience with others. So they get that email. When they book the first session, they also get a link to an intake form, because then they can just fill out the intake form. And I tell them, like, I want the intake form and payment is required before our first session. And the intake form is in my Active Campaign. So there's Active Campaign, there's MailChimp, but like in Active Campaign, they have forms, and you could just create a form, and it literally pops them into Active Campaign. They create the forms, and then it goes right in there. And anytime I have a question about a client, I can just go to their contact name, and I get all of their information because they filled it out. So that's kind of the journey. It made my life so much easier. I don't do anything with them except pop on Zoom and see them. So I love that. Any questions about any of that? No? Okay.
It's very helpful.
Yeah, you were gonna say what platform you used. for your
Oh,
customer
Active
service.
Campaign.
Okay, thank you.
So Calendly and Active Campaign, pretty much.
I find that like whenever I want to create something or do anything on any platform, they require a Stripe. Everything requires Stripe logins. So you're just saying for like all of your like sessions, you just send the payment link.
I just send a link. So like for athletes, there's a certain link and it's a certain amount of money. With my clients, this is how I've decided to do it. And this has been working for me for quite a while, is when they book that first session, I take payment for the first session. And then I tell them at the first session, we'll decide how many sessions you're gonna have and what the program is. And then I will charge them for the session, the entire session price. It just works better for me because I don't always know how many sessions when I talk to them on the discovery call. And so I just make sure they have that first payment in. And then on the second one, I'll say, oh yeah, we're looking at 6 more sessions. It's this amount of money. You can pay in full or 2 installments of this. And so, yeah, and so I just send them a link. So like athletes, they'll pay for all 4 because I know what it is. With other clients, or smokers too, same. And then with other clients, there's just a link to pay that first initial payment. And then I have a link in this program. You can actually do a link where you tell them the price and they put the price in. And so it could be anything, which is really nice. They just add in how much whatever you said the program was. And then I get an email saying this is what they paid, this is what they paid, so I just keep track of it that way.
Do you have
And
your business credit card through Costco too?
I used to, but I switched to Chase because I get airline miles and I get free flights like a lot with all of my business expenses. So I used to do Costco, but I decided to get airline miles instead. Yeah, and you can just link that right into your QuickBooks, and everything goes right into my QuickBooks. All my payments, all my charges, right there. So, all right, any questions? No? You guys are good? Okay, and I'd say the last thing is follow-up is key. So I have a follow-up automation that I send to them. So I ask for referrals, I ask for reviews on Facebook, on Google Business. I tell them thanks for being a great customer, and if I'll give you a referral, like if you send someone to me and you let me know, I'll give you $20 off your next session, or I've changed it up, like it's different all the time. And so that is super important, but I'll tell you what, the most important thing is that I'll never forget when I went to the dentist, and the dentist called me the next day and said, hey, you had a procedure yesterday, how are you doing today? I was like, wow, that is a really cool dentist. So I use that, and with every single client I have, I send them a personalized email, because with every client, I write a contract for them. So their contract is who they want to step into. So we talked about it in one of my last classes is, so like my contract was, or let's say I'm working with an athlete, their contract will be, I am an aggressive, confident, relentless wrestler. So we've created their contract. I know what it is. I wrote it down. And then my follow-up email, I'll just remind them, remember, you are a confident, aggressive, relentless wrestler. How are you doing? Make sure you are reading your statements every day, using your power word, practicing self-hypnosis, listening to your audio. Let me know how your season goes. I can't wait to hear about your successes. But because I sent that personalized, they know it's from me, and that's how I get a lot of repeat clients. because I will do that like after their session, maybe 2 weeks after their session. And then sometimes I'll just pull files and I'll do it like 6 months later, and they always come back. They're like, oh yeah, I should go back for a refresher session. So that personalized follow-up has been really big in multiplying my business. So, all right. I think we are about done, unless you guys have anything for me or any suggestions. I'd love to hear if you guys have anything that you want to share. Yeah.
Do you ever use local networking groups?
You mean in person?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, I do. I go to like Chamber of Business After Fives, and not as much as I should. I have to be honest, Connie is the guru of networking, and she, gets a lot of clients from that. So if you have questions, I would say go to Connie. She's really good. I do more the team talks because my athletes are my favorite clients, and those are the ones I want to get, so I go to see teams.
I started that about a month ago, and it's been a complete game changer.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and that's why I tell everybody too is during COVID, we had to do this all on computers, but I tell my mentees, same thing, like, I'm sorry, you guys, but you cannot do this behind a computer. Like, you have to create relationships. And when you create relationships, that's when the clients like, know, and trust you. So go out there and meet people, right? Yeah. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, if you do this and you're interested in working with athletes, you will probably get an email from me if you want to book a discovery call. We can talk more about it. And so yeah, thank you for being here. You guys were great. Oh, and we're in here now. I think we're doing a circle. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate you.
Yes.
I took some photos of you.
Oh, thank you. I would love